they're putting their futures and their livelihood in the hands of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. No, bro, that future and livelihood should be in your hand.
Correct. What's going on, everybody? Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another episode of Riding with Bouncy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I love it. A bouncy from out of nowhere.
I just want to do that. Like I missed that. I missed that in the open, bro.
Absolutely.
And I liked when you used to go boom. I used to love your sounds.
You know, man, I miss it, man. It's
Me too, man.
Yeah. So, here's the thing, man. Good segue into what we're going to talk about tonight. Another onslaught of WWE releases, man. What a just crazy day, crazy night. I was actually super busy today. Had a lot of clients and a meeting, and then I had to go do some ministry work. And then by the time I checked my phone, I have like a whole bunch of messages from different people about the releases. I was informed earlier today that there was going to be a wave of releases coming. And then I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And I was like, man, I just saw all the names, and a lot of them didn't surprise me. Here's the thing, Vince. We'll talk about them. I'll read them. But Vince, this is what I got from this. All right. Now, there's none of these releases are going to make a dent in the roster. Like I'm not trying to sound callous, but at the end of the day, none of these releases are going to make a dent in the roster. Before the last wave, people like Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt and things like that, those were shockers. I was a big fan of Jonah. He was oh gosh, what was his name? I forgot his name. He was NXT champion. Jonah. He's Jonah now. But he was. I'll find it. His name, Bronson Reed. That was his name, Bronson Reed. So I was a big fan of Bronson Reed. Thought he had a ton of potential. He reminded me of a like an Australian Samoan Bam Bam Bigelow. You know what I mean? Like mixed with like he had a Bam Bam Bigelow feel to him. I really liked him. I think he really could have made in the main roster. But this wave of releases, there's a few surprises, but none of them really are huge shockers. And so we'll just go through them. Overall, from the list of names that we're going to go through, just your overall take on this wave of releases.
Bro, I'm gonna hit you with two things that I really take away from this, bro. I got to tell you, I started my new Lions, Tigers, Bears, and head today.
Yeah.
And Al really, bro, wrestlers can really put things in their perspectives that you and I can't.
Sure.
Because they know the contracts, they know the situation. Mm-hmm. Bro, we have to understand, bro, it's going to be all Chris, it's going to be all the scuttlebutt on the dirt sheets and everything. Bro, we have to understand something. This is what everybody forgets. Bro, these are independent contractors.
Indeed.
So basically, okay, bro, you were here, you did a job, and now we no longer want your services. Mm-hmm. It's like hiring a plumber or a roofer or, somebody's going to lay a hardwood floor. Mm-hmm. They're independent contractors, bro. Yes, so nobody's really getting released. We just no longer want to acquire your services. Yeah. Now, when I spoke to Al and Chris, you and I hit upon this a lot. Mm-hmm. This is where Al told me today, and we spoke about this, and this is where Al said, bro, it is vital to make your mark and stand up for yourself when you have the television time and you are building your brand, because this is going to happen. Right. So you want to be able, like when something is bad and you don't believe it and you don't think it's going to work, bro, you have to speak up, because while you're there, you got to make that time valuable. Bro, I was just reading a whole interview with Moxley today, where he basically said he hated everything he was doing, but never spoke up. And that's why Al was saying that's the problem today. They're all going according to a script. They don't like what they're doing. Nobody's saying anything. So they're not building their stock. They're not building their brand. And then when they're released, that's what they have to build on. You and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
That's why it is so important, guys, because you are independent contractors and at any day they can release you. So while you're there and you're on TV, Karrion Kross has to say, Lord Humongous sucks.
Yes.
Keith Lee has to say this sucks. They have to say it, bro. They have to say it because eventually what's going to happen anyway, Chris? Exactly what happened today.
Correct.
Whether it's 6 months down the road, a year down the road, because everybody's so afraid of being fired. Bro, there is no fired. Right. You're independent contract. There's no fired.
Yeah, that's true.
Chris, here's the second thing now from the WWE side in a business perspective. Bro, how much time and money and resources were wasted on the Keith Lees and the Karrion Kross? How much time and money? Like, you mean to tell me it took you, Nia Jax has been there, however, it took you that long to figure out, like, all the money for Kross to go through NXT and Keith Lee and Ember Moon and all these people, all that money, it took you that long to realize this person's not going to draw money for us? Wow, bro, if you really sat down and figured out the cost of what they spend trying to turn these individuals into WWE, the amount would be astronomical.
For sure. I 100% agree with you as far as, and again, like you said, we talk about this all the time when it comes to independent contractors. I just gave an example about a painter just on our previous show. You know, it's like, listen, if you get hired if you're an independent contractor painter and Sherwin-Williams, for instance, hire me as an independent contractor painter to paint whatever, right? If they're like, if I'm basing my livelihood based on the projects that they give me, right? And I noticed that for a second, you know, they were giving me a little bit of projects and then they kept promising me new projects. And I realized that there was more of a gap between the projects that they gave me. As an independent contractor, I'm building my brand and marketing myself to prepare to go somewhere else, because if Sherwin-Williams is not hiring me as an independent contractor, I'm not just going to hold everything and say, you know what, I'm going to wait for that big old Sherwin-Williams paycheck to come in. That's going to pay for so much. No, I'm not going to. That would make me a bad independent contractor if I'm holding everything based on one check that it hasn't really delivered, that's promised me. It's been weeks, it's been months, it's been over and over again, and I'm not doing my part to build my brand for other people to be interested in me.
Chris, believe it or not, you know, I'm doing that Vince versus Vince series now, and I'm going to discuss the last emails. Chris, this type of thing kind of played a part in it. And it's going to be very, very, very interesting of the choice I made and what some people will think about that choice. But it's very, very similar to this. Chris, how many weeks in a row did we say, Eva Marie, you got to say something? You got there. How many times did we say, bro, that they're lessening her brand? How many times did we say that, Chris?
Over and over and over and over and over again. I just and the thing is, the sad part about that, Vince, is that, again, from a psychological standpoint, there's this empty promise of just wait. You know, just wait. You're going to get that spot. You're going to get that moment. We're going to give you the vignettes. And you talked about Keith Lee and Karrion Kross with the vignettes. let's not forget the weeks and weeks of vignettes and money they spent on Eva Marie.
Right.
You know,
How much did all that cost? How much?
Yep. Just weeks upon weeks of vignettes on her. And it's like you've got multiple people that you're spending so much on. And again, all these people, most of these names at least, they've been in the business for long enough to realize that if the WWE's not using you and not trying to call you up and keep giving you that, just wait, we'll get to you. From a business standpoint, you should be in your mind, similar to what I was talking about the painter situation. You should know in your mind, like, I mean, they're notorious for saying that to people. There was just a wave of releases. I'm no different than a Bray Wyatt or a Braun Strowman or a Bronson Reed. I probably should be making money elsewhere. I probably should be establishing a Twitch page now and making some money and finding other places to make money.
Chris, here's the mentality. This is exactly what you're saying, and you are dead on. Here's the mentality. 90% of that roster and maybe more, they're independent contractors, but yet they're putting their futures and their livelihood in the hands of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. No, bro, that future and livelihood should be in your hand.
Correct.
You're an independent contractor. It should be in your hand. You're putting everything in their basket and in him. Here's the promo. You're saying exactly this. No, I know I can't curse, but it's ASS backwards. Yeah. You got to put that in your own hand. Yes. Like, look at you, Chris. You right now could be working at the WWE and they could be screaming in your headset. We hear Michael Cole talks about it to this day. Yeah, yep. But what are you doing? You're here doing your own thing. You're your own boy. I want to do this with Sportskeeda. I want to do this over here. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. You're in control. Bro, if you work for that company and you're not in control, you are screwed.
Yes, absolutely. And even, again, from a psychological standpoint, screwed mentally, Vince.
Yes.
Just think about these wrestlers who are trying to make a living at something that they dreamed of.
Yes.
They dreamed to have a WWE contract. WWE, regardless of how much Raw sucks, it is still the pinnacle brand of professional wrestling, hands down. There's no comparison, regardless of the competition we have now. WWE is the pinnacle brand of professional wrestling. So people who get in the pro wrestling business, they aim to have that WWE contract. Think of the psychological damage that it gives to someone like a Keith Lee, and we'll talk about the names, who busts his butt. I've interviewed Keith Lee before. Busts his butt. Indie show after indie show after indie show after year. He had a stint with Ring of Honor, to all of this time to build, to get to that moment. WWE calls him. I'm sure that as someone who has been busting his butt on the indies, he gets the call from WWE. He's like, finally, I made it, right? And so because of that, you psychologically depend on the dream so much without really actualizing and living real time that is becoming a nightmare here. You know what I mean? And you need to do something.
Because, Chris, the mentality has to change. You have to use them and not allow them to use you. 100%. God, I wish I could talk about my last thing, because so much of this is going to come out of that and people will understand. But yeah, bro, you have to be in control. But here's the game, Chris. Here's the game. You have to know, and a Keith Lee and whoever else, Nia Jax, will go through the whole list, but you have to know, you have to have the confidence. Yep. You know what? Their loss. They didn't know how to use me. They screwed up. Their loss. But how the business works, Chris, and you are the psychology doctor. Mm-hmm. Bro, it's the brainwashing of making you believe without us, you're nothing.
Correct.
You won't have a career. Nobody will know who you are. That's the game they play. So, bro, it's almost like they make you so dependent on them. They strip you of your confidence when, as an independent contractor, the idea should be, I am great enough to work for anybody.
Correct.
Everybody. If you want to make money, then you got to hire me. But bro, they make you feel so little and worthless. So now everything they do, now you're jumping through hoops. It's a game, bro. But at some point, they got to smarten up to the game, Chris.
100%. And you have to make every minute count while you have them. That's the reason why, Aaron Stevens, Damian Sandow, he was Damian Mizdow for a second. Aaron Stevens, very nice guy, man. Very cool dude. And when I interviewed him recently, we were talking about the Mizdow character and how he was just supposed to be just a lackey of the Miz. That was just his role at the time. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna maximize my minutes. Like, I'm not only just going to be a lackey of the Miz, like I'm going to be a lackey of the Miz. Like I'm going to maximize my minutes here. And if he was just a regular Miz lackey, he wouldn't have had the to this day people talk about Mizdow, because not only did he maximize his minutes, he was like, okay, I'm handed this, but this is not what I'm going to give back. I'm going to give you something way extravagant to be known to maximize my minutes. And even to this day, people talk about Mizdow as that being one of the funniest things. People were just talking about that on a recent show we had. Even to this day, someone who was a lackey, who was supposed to be a lackey of the Miz, became a gimmick that even losing all the time, he still made an impression by maximizing his minutes.
Because, Chris, what's the mindset for 90% of the roster? They give you the script. They tell you exactly what to do and go out there. The mindset is, Chris, you're on the defensive. I can't make a mistake. I can't say the wrong thing. You're constantly on the defense. You are not thinking, I'm going outside of this, like Mizdow was. You're not thinking that. You're on the defense. You are so afraid you're gonna make a mistake and be fired, bro. You're an independent contractor.
Yes. And we see that a lot with people in the main roster nowadays, like a Rhea Ripley, for instance. It's like it seemed like there was so much more freedom in NXT. You can just tell a lot of people who shifted from NXT to the main roster, they just feel like it's just spinning all the time up here, just all the time. You can tell that from Rhea Ripley, even from when she first came on the main roster. It just felt like she had a more freedom and was more lax and had an ability to really hone her character in more in NXT. But when it came to the main roster, just spinning. And now she just feels like a shell of herself. And she's not even, for someone who had such a bold character, now she's just assisting Nikki ASH, and you barely even hear from her. She's not even her own person. And it just feels like spinning. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say a word wrong on a promo because I'll get reamed by Vince McMahon. I'll get reamed by, the writing staff. Someone's going to yell at me. Hold on, wait a minute. I got to make sure. It's just so much psychological trauma. To make sure that you're like, okay, well,
how is that fun, Chris? How is that fun?
It's not. And again, if you're living this dream, and it's like, because you're getting traumatized while being deceived at the same time. You know what I mean? That's the psychology behind it. It's like let's just say this much. I want to say the word Ponzi scheme, but it has like a type of pyramid feel to it. You're deceiving people to make them think like they're going to get a piece of the pie when essentially you're just stabbing them in the back. You know what I mean? And so, unfortunately, when it comes to these competitors, and we'll talk about a list here in a moment, this is what we both are agreeing on from a business standpoint. At the end of the day, Vince, every single wrestling talent on that roster is considered an independent contractor, meaning they don't have any benefits, they don't have any insurance. Like none of that is WWE's responsibility. So from a WWE standpoint, that's a good business move, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing their part in doing good business as far as not being responsible for dozens and dozens of talents' insurance. However, the contractor needs to say, okay, so you're not going to give me benefits or insurance. Okay, sweet. So I'll work for you and I'll work for a company where I can get benefits and insurance since you're not going to offer that to me.
And Chris, think about it. Think about this, bro. You are an independent contractor. Somebody contracts you to paint their house.
Yep.
You go to the house and the woman who wants you to paint the house is a big pain in the backside.
Yeah.
I want you to do this and I want you to do this and I want you this and that and that. And bro, there's going to be a headache. Like, no matter what I do, it's not going to be good enough. What's going to happen, Chris? You're probably going to turn the job down.
Correct.
You're probably going to say, you know what? I'll go work for other customers.
That's
That'll
right.
be a lot easier. You're probably, this is the same scenario, bro.